Hello everyone. You are watching Empowering Voices, Stories of Resilience and Hope. My name is Perla Javate. And welcome to the storytelling project of the Coalition of Cultural Communities for Families. Our focus is on telling stories of immigrants and those who experience being a refugee, about how they experience social justice by paying attention to equity, diversity, and inclusion, values and beliefs that have impacted their lives, their families, and their communities. So we're interested to learn what has worked well and could be better in our city. So for this podcast, we invited Amna Ayyaz. Hi, Amna. Welcome to our MCCF project. To start with, can you tell us about who you are, how long you have been in Canada, and which community you identify with?
For sure. Thank you, by the way, for having me. I really appreciate it. My name is Amna. My background is Pakistani, and I would identify with the Muslim community of Manitoba. I just completed my undergrad at the University of Winnipeg and will be moving out to North Dakota for law. I was working this past year with MIA as the office administrator and other cool, fun things. So yeah, I'm really close with the community I identify with.
Oh, that's great. Okay. So just to put context to what we will be talking about, let's start with your life as a child and a young person growing up in Canada.
For sure. So when I moved here, I moved with my entire family, or my immediate family. I have two younger brothers, me, my mom, my dad, and we moved to Canada in 2001, Toronto, and then from there we moved here in 2004.
Okay.
We're all from Pakistan, and we now consider ourselves Winnipeggers because we've been here long.
Yes,
really long time, especially the kids. One of my brothers is born here. The other two, me and him, we grew up here. But I guess.
How old were you when you arrived in Canada?
In Canada, I was probably 2 or 3, and then I started school here. So from kindergarten onwards, I was here. So maybe 4, I moved to Winnipeg.
Mm-hmm. So you're a Canadian.
Yeah, I'm a Winnipegger.
Very much. So growing up with here in Canada.
Yeah, I always say I'm Pakistan's where I'm from, but Winnipeg is my home, just because I've been here for so long.
For so long, yeah. So please describe to us your family growing up, its composition, the important values that you grew up with, along with your brothers, and the relationship within the home.
For sure. So my family dynamic, my parents growing up have always been like partners. My mom was a breadwinner. She's a physician. My dad is an engineer back home too, but I think growing up we put a lot of emphasis on my mom because we wanted to transfer all of her accreditation here in Canada. So and my mom, my dad worked together, I would say, for my mom. So everything to me growing up, the dynamic I was shown was very much a partnership. Mm-hmm. So because of that, everything I was allowed to do, my brothers were allowed to do. Everything I was not allowed to do, my brothers were not allowed to do. Everything was very much even playing field in terms of gender roles.
Oh, really?
My dad used to clean a lot. My mom would cook. It's stuff. Growing up, I didn't really have a lot of stereotype gender roles because my parents weren't like that, and I think a lot of that was because they immigrated for us at a very young age, and so they had to live in a lifestyle where we couldn't live with gender roles as it was back home. So yeah.
So the community that you grew up with, can you say that the way you did things is different from the way they did things themselves?
Maybe, but I'm not completely sure. For example, a lot of my mom's friends just so happened to be also doctors, and like, you know, so their husbands might have also helped out a lot. But I will say that there were certain issues that people would talk about that I myself never fortunately had the experience of. Like, I still don't know how to cook. You know what I mean? Like, that's not so, like, my family never pushed gender roles of that sort on us, but they were big advocates of education, especially women being educated. That's really prominent in my family, like widespread. My aunt's 3 daughters, all of them are educated, like formally. One of them is a doctor, one of them is a nurse, the other one has an MBA. Like, they're all, education for women is hugely advocated in my family. And I think I'm almost positive that education in general, it's really advocated in my community as well. It might just be because we all came here as immigrants or refugees, and like a lot of people in my community have had to work in order to, like, they've needed that education in order to live the life that they were living back home, or build on a nice, like, you know, like stereotypical American or Canadian dream or of that nature. Yeah.
That's right. So describe to me the community that you grew up with. Did you have extended family as well in that community where you grew up?
Oh yeah. So I was saying my family, like my aunts and all that, everyone on my mom's side lives exactly on my block. Like, literally, there's like 8 houses right that are just genetically related to me, like directly. So yeah, a lot of my community, or a lot of my family members, are involved in the Muslim community or in the community that I ascribe to. And we're all very close, and so is the Muslim community as well. Everyone, I think in Winnipeg, it's interesting, but like the Muslim community in Winnipeg is very much so multicultural and diverse as opposed to other cities in Canada. And that might just be because we don't have as much population. Like in Toronto, there's such a larger Muslim population than there is here. So then in different cities, there's different mosques, right? And different mosques, some may be mosques where mainly Pakistanis frequent, some may be mosques where maybe Arabs frequent, but like especially the Grand Mosque, there is so much diversity that I think a lot of people that go to that mosque and a lot of people that ascribe to that community would identify as like Muslims before what ethnicity they're from.
Most of you would be identifying yourself first as a Muslim before you identify your ethnicity.
Yeah, I would say so. I can't speak on behalf of everyone, but I believe that's the vibe that I get. That's what I myself identify as first. So,
can you explain more about the diversity within the Muslim community?
Yeah, of course. Like, we have, even if you look at the formal way that like MIA's board is, it's like you have people from Pakistani backgrounds, Palestinian backgrounds, Ethiopian backgrounds, and we all work together, and those are like components of people and the communities in our mosques as well. Yeah, like I will say I feel personally working with MIA and seeing a lot of, because I worked with the mental health initiative, and with that is we work with like a psychologist, and she is taking in counseling and trying to find resources for the different community members. Right. And we did find that there was a lack of that specifically in MIA for some people from Somalian backgrounds. But fortunately, there is a really big Somali community by Bilal Center, which is beautifully run. But there is a part of me that wishes that, you know, we would have a lot of that, because my mosque, like MIA, is located in the south, so it would be lovely if there was more of the Somali community involvement, or we had more acceptance, or like you know, a bigger group of them with us as well. But I mean, Winnipeg is small too, so everything gets connected.
So you did go to school here, you know, from the time you were little. Yeah. Can you tell us about it, you know, and your experience in elementary school and then high school?
Yeah, of course. So for elementary school, I actually went to majority of my elementary schooling was in a Muslim school in Winnipeg. One was Ecole Sophia, I only went there for like a year or two, but my teacher, my professor, or my principal for that school, Amna Ayyaz Sufi, I love him. There are very few people I credit there are very few mentors that I have that I hold close to my heart, and he's definitely one of them. He's phenomenal. And then the other one was Al Hijra Islamic School. From there, I was in that school from grade 3 to 8.
Okay.
Yeah, so so it was I was raised in a bubble, but then also like my bubble, like I said, the Muslim community in Manitoba is so diverse that like I had my own version of diversity. So like, yeah.
Did you experience any difficulties at all growing up, in your school? Challenges in regards to relationships with other kids, with your teachers, and just the general atmosphere in school?
So different, because we all come from different ethnic backgrounds. I think there was a little bit of, there is a little bit of turbulence where like, oh, like these are the Arab kids, these are the Pakistani kids, or these Somali kids. But like by the end of it, like those are like so niche and minute that they don't really make a big difference, because there's still so many, like the faith itself is so, like everyone shares it, so then that kind of overtakes those small minute details. But like, yeah, so I would say there were small elements of feeling left out, but honestly by age 9, everyone knew everything about each other, and it was so hard because you spend like the past 6 years or however many years with the same people, so you grow with them, and then you create close familial bonds with them, and you don't even see them differently. So I would say in school there was less of that, definitely. Like
Definitely.
by the end of it, we were all brothers and sisters. Like we were all like this. It was hard to, yeah.
So obviously, growing up, you had important values that were shared to you by your parents, that helped you through your adjustments through the years with other people. Can you share that with us?
Yeah, of course. I think because my parents themselves, they had to adjust how they were living, right, when they had to immigrate here, and the way that they had to raise us, and because they were working even back home in Pakistan. So like for example, back home in Pakistan, we are very like communal. So your mom helps you when you go raise kids, or you can drop your kids off to your sister's house. So we didn't have that here growing up. So my parents had to really, I think, they had to really focus on what they were teaching us, because we were going to daycares and we were being around so people that aren't immediate family. So they really emphasized the morals that they wanted us to have and focus on those. And I think definitely faith is a big one. And with faith specifically comes being a good person. I think that's something they really cared about, helping others. That I will say when my dad was at his lowest, he was always willing to help someone else with their paper, like in whichever way he could. So my dad's really good at he's very academically inclined. Like he's very well versed in paperwork and like how to do things properly. He loves English. He's very smart. So he would help anyone with any type of filing or like paperwork for documentation, things like that. And my dad himself is an immigrant. Like he wasn't taught these things either. He's a textile engineer. Like these are all passionate things, but he saw that he had that and that advantage. He didn't profit off of it as much so as he tried to help others with it. And they will do that to this day. So yeah, there was that. And then the other big thing is education, because my dad realized that he had this education. Same with my mom. They had this educational background, and because of that they were able to help other people. So I think those two are one of the biggest morals or biggest values that they trained me and my siblings with.
Did you experience sitting down with your family, just talking about things? Your parents obviously also had to go through a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
Were those shared with you? Were there conversation between you and your brothers about challenges that they faced as well?
I think as we got older, Definitely. When we were younger, not so much, because of the background. Like when I don't know, I think Pakistanis aren't very like emotionally aware. So when my parents were growing up, they themselves also grew a lot, raising us, especially here in the West. And I think in general, parents specifically, as their children grow, they have to grow too, right? So they themselves have to change a little bit, dynamics shift, relationships shift. And so I think now they're more open with like things that they wouldn't have been. So like being more vulnerable about how they felt, the struggles they faced. Same with my brother as well, especially my second oldest one. We're really close because we're only like 1 year apart. So a lot of the things, it's like Amna and Murad. So we were like Tom and Jerry almost. We're 2 in 1. And then after that, Ahmed, but he's like my best friend. Ahmed and I is the 11-year age gap, but we are like this.
Okay, that's great.
Even right now, I asked him, I'm like, do you want to come with me to this? And he was like, no, I'm Nabaji, that's weird. But yeah, so like we're all really close. I'd say we share these specific vulnerable details now, as opposed to back when I was growing up, not so much. Which I think when I was growing up, I probably definitely needed those conversations more so to understand my parents more, maybe be more compassionate or like, you know, more forgiving with them. But it's nice now.
And now I guess you're more in a position to understand also what your parents have gone through, adjusting to the new country and I guess the adjustments they have to do as far as their professions are concerned.
Yeah.
So can you share some of that?
Yeah, definitely. Of course. I think one big thing, especially being a Muslim, being raised in the West, is you're constantly having to adjust because you're just, everything we do is somehow different, or like you have to be aware of everything you do, right? Because there's a certain connotation with being a Muslim, especially in the West. And so constant adjustment is necessary sometimes, or I feel necessary to survive or to be like treated as everyone else. There's just like an added effort to be a little more like everyone.
Can you expound on your mom's journey as a professional here?
Yeah, so my mom, so like I said, we moved here in 2001. My mom is a physician, so she's a family doctor back home. She had her own clinic. She was running it. I think me and Murad were even born in that clinic.
Right.
So she'd been practicing for a couple of years, and then in 2001 we moved here. 2004, my dad and her already began the process to try to become an international medical graduate. And so she'd been writing, she'd cleared all of her exams, she'd even gotten a job as a physician, as an echo and sonographer tech. So it was different, but she was still in the health, like she just wanted to be in a hospital. That's what she studied for, that's what she trained for. And every single year since I think 2004 or 2008, she's been writing those exams, trying to get accredited, passing all of her exams, and being rejected, to be completely honest with you. And it wasn't until this year when that she got accepted into the IMG program, and now she is a physician here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, and that is big. But it's a struggle. So that is the greatest perseverance I've ever seen, ever in my life. And that also is a value that I share.
It's a value, persistence and determination to do what needs to be done to get to where you want to be.
Yeah.
And you grew up surrounded by your immediate family and extended family and your religious community. Can you tell us when you realized you are different from others in the wider community?
Yeah, I guess because I went to Muslim school, I didn't realize or I guess I always felt it, but I didn't realize how big of a difference it would have been when I went into high school. And like I just spent more time 24/7 with people that weren't from my community. How much more work I had to do to be like everyone else. But I also realized, everyone else is different too. Like I grew up in the South and I went to high school in the South, and there's a lot of diversity in the South. But even then, there was the pointed effort that I had to learn to be like everyone else, to be treated like everyone else, because I was Muslim and I chose to physically, like I wear the hijab, so I choose to physically stand out as a Muslim. So yeah.
I'm just thinking, usually high school kids love to drop by McDonald's and all that. So as far as your experience is concerned, can you share that with us? Of course, with the choices of food that they have and all that.
Yeah, there is a lot of food restriction in my faith, and like some people are more like lenient, and some people are more stricter. I choose to be more stricter. So like McDonald's, all I really eat there is fish fillet or the ice cream. So it's it's fine. You learn to like the fries. The fries are good. Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, small things like that. Like the way you eat, the way you dress, the way you greet people, you have to kind of be more, I feel like I had to be more aware of what I was doing. I had to be a little bit more friendly.
Okay.
I would say, yeah.
And in hopping in the bus, for instance?
Yeah, that's a different experience
It's
altogether.
one.
Oh yeah. Like I think I've encountered both situations where people are really interested in the way that, in what I'm wearing, the way that I choose to, my skin color maybe, and like, I've had people sit down beside me and ask, with my headphones on, might I say big ones, so I don't have to talk to people, so people can see them, like, what is Islam? Like where are you from? Why do you wear that? And I've also had the experience where people, quite frankly, probably don't want to sit beside me. I've had a full, like, jam-packed bus, and the seat beside me is empty, which I won't complain about. I know the idea behind it is maybe prejudice, and maybe they don't want to sit beside me, maybe they're scared of me, but I don't mind the extra seat. I won't mind.
Are there occasions where you felt differently, like a little bit more scared than others?
So more fear I feel, or like more scared, I realize is more closer to inner city, and especially recently with the attack that happened on one of like a Muslim woman who was working in Olive Garden. After hearing that, definitely more fearful of the surroundings that I'm at, especially because I stand out, right? Like there's something physically different about me, right. And I personally feel, not even I feel like, I think point blank, I believe that the reason why that woman or that individual was hurt, was attacked, was because of the way that she was dressed and her faith, and it is like mine. We were both Muslim. And so that definitely plays a part in the way that I interact and I leave my house, and the way that I feel when I'm in the general public. But even in university settings, right? Like I have a Bachelor of Arts in Psychology, and so it just so happens that there's not a lot of Muslims or like minorities as you go higher up in the discipline. So I've always have to, like, I felt like for example, I've always had to sit in the front of the class. I've always had to like smile at everyone because I want to be approached. I want people to actually befriend me. And I think that sometimes people subconsciously, maybe so, look at me and think, oh, she's different, or I don't want to approach her. So I've always felt like from the beginning that I've had to put an extra effort to be approached and treated like everyone else in the room who doesn't have to do that. Yeah.
Definitely, I guess that those realities we have to face, because we cannot get away from it.
Yeah.
When your skin color is different, you dress up differently, you always stand up wherever you are, and depending on perception of people, we do the best we can to put our best foot forward at all times.
At all times.
Okay,
yeah.
so how do you define yourself now, having grown up? From the time you were 2 years old, you've been here in Canada, you're fully Canadian. How do you define yourself with everything that you've gone through?
Yeah, no, I mean, I joke when I say like I'm Canadian, like definitely I'm fluent in Urdu. I pride myself in that. I put the work to be fluent in Urdu. My grandma speaks Urdu, she lives with me. Yeah, I can't talk to her in any other language. But yeah, no, like I've had to like you have to learn. You have to like first. For me, like first I was Pakistani. Like that's how I grew up. Like as a kid, very young infant. I was born Pakistani, and then I was taught English, and like I was taught in Canada, and my parents weren't taught in Canada, so they might have had problems helping me. But then with that, I still have to learn to be Pakistani because that is who I am, right? And so it's just an added layer of maintaining who you are.
That's great. Yes, I know it's a strength to be able to acknowledge that and be firm with the fact that you are who you are. Because with all the challenges you're facing, it's easy to just blend in. But it's a strength that you can be really proud of. Can you also share with us your perspective of the Muslim community in Winnipeg, their challenges and how they're managing it?
For sure. Like I'll talk about the Muslim community, but like I have the most closest connection with Manitoba Islamic Association. There are so many different associations here, but like specifically with MIA and general Muslims, growing up in Winnipeg, Manitoba, I wouldn't say, like I'm not sure what you mean.
Okay, I meant as a community,
Yeah.
What kinds of challenges are they facing and how are they coping with it?
Right. I mean, I think recently a lot of people, because it was only like a month ago with the attack in Olive Garden, there is a level of fear, but it's really unfortunate that I think like specifically in our community there was more like prevalence and light shown on it recently after a month, because there was a press release, and that is because media, I'll be honest, it felt like media was completely pushing that report down. There were so many people that approached me during the press release, which was released a month after the attack, that was saying that, oh, I just heard about this. And that's so disheartening because it's literally it's a community member and she was just doing her job. So I think those are some of the challenges. There will always be like things that I think we have to work on, especially, there's always, I'll be honest, especially working more internally, I think there's always the concern about safety, the concern about being Muslim, worried about how others will feel, things like that. I felt it, but I think in general our community feels it as well. And like especially when we get together in large congregations, like for Eid prayer, I realize we do have police around, and why is that? Is because we have had instances where, things have been reported to us where we might not feel safe. Or during the month of Ramadan, there were pointed, as someone who was working during the night prayers, the month of Ramadan, we refer to as Taraweeh prayers, there were maybe 2 to 3 instances where we had suspicious activity outside. And like, if you know even a little bit about the faith, you know that, or you can just see in the community a large group of Muslims, practicing Muslims, entering the mosque, which is a place of worship, you feel a level of, like, it's not hard to see where a group of Muslims are if you want to attack them, for example. So yeah, like I would say that those are one of the bigger challenges that we are facing right now, or that I see right now anyways.
Being aware of all these things that are happening around and these feelings of fear and of uncertainty about how people react to you as a community, what kinds of things have you done to alleviate those concerns as a community?
Like what do you mean by that?
In terms of making the community aware of who you are, things that you do to make things work so that you can blend in the mainstream community and all that. Just making people aware of all positive things that you've been doing.
Right.
Yeah,
I see what you're
so if you can share with us, or if you're aware of any attempts in your community to reach out to the bigger community so that these concerns can be resolved.
Sure. I think Muslims in general here, we don't necessarily, it's not that, like, we don't necessarily want people to like us, but we want everyone to know that Muslims, Islam in general, it is a very, like, friendly and peaceful religion. So we always, especially the mosque, we welcome everyone all the time. Annually, we have the annual MIA carnival, and all community members, everyone, we have fireworks going on in the mosque, we have like rides, bouncers, and we have the general community coming every year. Everyone knows about it. We always say, like, especially working as the office administrator this year, I've done so many tours of the mosque with people from schools or people just generally learning about the faith. I always say too, everyone always says at the mosque, everyone is welcome. So it's not so much that we're trying to counteract these negative views, but we're just letting people know, or if we're asked, we're approached, we always tell them how it has been for years and how we've been taught that we welcome you. Everyone is welcome. And so, yeah, like, I wouldn't say that's something that we're trying to promote. It's just something that we are. We're very friendly. The masjid is very friendly. The mosque is always welcoming. Our community loves everyone. Like, our community loves having new faces all the time. We're very passionate, and we want everyone to know how passionate we are about, like, community and us and, like, how Islam is. And so, yeah.
So Winnipeg, as you know, is composed of many, many different communities. Knowing that, what do you think is the future? How do you see the future of our cultural communities?
I mean, I think it's phenomenal, and I am aware of how diverse Winnipeg is and how we are very strong in the communities that we have. I think in the future, what would be optimistic of me to say, and I would love to see, is like all communities coming together and creating dialogue with other communities, right? And so that way people are more aware of other people and aware of the way the different people live their lives and are more accepting. So we don't have to, I don't have to put in the extra effort to smile at someone just because of the way I wear my hijab, right? Like, people just assume I'm nice because I'm nice. Because all of our because we have the ability to learn about other things and other communities, that we have this knowledge and we have this awareness and respect for other people. So that's what I would love to see for Manitoba or Winnipeg in the future.
And it would be a beautiful society to have, you know, the diversity that we have, you know, enriched with positive and peaceful attitude of people. What do you think is working in our city within the perspective of social justice, equity, diversity, and inclusion?
I think if you look in the right places, you find the effort that people are doing for equity and diversity. But I think in the general public, it might not be so much available. Like, it's something that you have to definitely, like, seek out, but it is there, which is hopefully the next step, is that you don't have to seek it out. It's just embedded within Winnipeg. It's within all of our systems, of our organizations, the way that we teach in school, the way that we make policies. It will be there. So that's what I hope for as well.
Yes. So how do you think we'll get to that point?
I mean, I'm just one person, I can't say, but I will say sharing and learning about other people's differences, other communities, other cultures, I think that's a great start. I think it's just creating dialogue. I think that is a beautiful way to begin, because you understand and you see, you don't learn through others without talking to the other person.
Thank you for sharing your story, Amna. And thank you everyone for listening, and I hope to see you next time.